This is Zichru Daf Simanim Gemara Sanhedrin Daf Mem Ches. Now Mem Ches is a moyach. A moyach is a brain. So we have a bunch of brainiacs, some smart people over here trying to do some interesting experiments. Experiment number one is we see the first brainiac looking through a microscope at a pair of tefillin, a tefillin bag particularly. He wants to know whether hazmana milsahi, the fact that something is created for something, does that give it that level of kedusha by the mere designation? It's new, it's never used. Does that give it the kedusha? Point number one. The next brainiac is sitting over here in an interesting X-ray, hyper X-ray machine, trying to figure out were these tefillin tanned lishma, were the iba done lishma, and this machine is a very expensive machine that he inherited from their rebellious father, who was killed by the king. As the sign on the wall says, rebellion never pays. So number two is going to be, is the leather of the tefillin tanned lishma? And number three is going to be who receives the property of the executed king. So the moyach, these brainiacs. Point number one is they're trying to figure out science experiments. Hazman and Milsi, let's look at the tefillin bag. Let's try to figure out. Of course, you can't look at a tefillin bag. That's just part of the Zichru Sanhedrin. But the point is Hazman and Milsi just by the designation or not? Point number two is looking through x-rays. Of course, you can't tell through an x-ray if tefillin is tan lishma. But that reminds us of the Ibal Lishma. Point number three is who inherits the property of someone who is married b'malchus, killed by a king. So let's go a little bit deeper. Point number one is Amana Milsahi. By the end of the previous staff, Abayi said, Ha'irig begel lemeis, you weave a garment for the corpse, it is Asar behana, even before the burial. Why? Abayi holds as Mana Milsahi. Rava argues, Rava says until it's actually used, it's not, because as Mana, Lav, Milsa, he. Where does Rava get this from Avodah Zarah, which not Asr B'Hana until they're actually used? Abai gets his Makar Zagla Rufa, which is Asr. So says the Gemara, Rava holds like Rav Chisda, who says by tefillin pouch Azmana, the Azmani Lemitzer by tefillin, you created to wrap your tefillin with Sarbe and you actually used it, then it's Asr. If not, Abai agrees that the wrapping alone will not Asr. It's the Machlokes Abai and Rava, whether Abai says Mana Milsi and Rava says not. So these brainiacs are trying to figure out this detail by putting it under a microscope. Point number two is, once we're on tefillin, what is the story with the Ibal Lishma of the tefillin? A brisa, it says, designating 90% of Torah tefillin, it does not make it ulcer, like Rava Azman Alav Milsahi. Says Gemara, no, it's machlekes tanoyim. If we have something made from a non-kosher animal, that's for sure not kosher for tefillin. Made by kosher animal, says that Anakama, it's kosher, I'll be shaloi ibdin lishma. Rashbag says no. Says Rav Shimon Gamliel, it's only kosher ibdon lishma, you have to tana lishma, and their machlekes could be whether Azman and Milsi or not. A machlekes Abai and Rava, and we paskin like Rava that Hazmana Lav Milsahi, the designation, would not make it Aser. And finally, point number three is where do they get that incredible machine and Daf Mem Ches, these moyach, these brainiacs from the king when someone was killed, Aruge Malchus, Nechseim, the Melech says the Tanakam, Aruge Bezdin goes to the Yarsha. Yehuda says, even one as Aruge Malchus goes to the Yarsha. They told Rav Yehuda, we find King Achav got the vineyard of Navais after killing it. So we see it did not go to the Yarsha, but went to the king. Rav Yehuda says Achav was Navais' cousin and therefore did go to the closest relative. Says the Gemara, wait, if it goes to the king, then I understand why you ran away from Eliyahu to the Mishkan and didn't want to leave. Said he'll die there. Why? Because he wanted his Yarshim to receive the property. But if it didn't go to his Yarshim either way, what's he running away for? Says the Gemara, that he wanted to gain, Yov wanted to live for a few more hours. So Mem Ches, our brainiacs, are number one, looking through the microscope at the tefillin, is Azmana Milsahi. Number two, trying to look into this X-ray machine as the tefillin, whether Ibul Ishma. The Machlokes Abai and Rava, Azmana Milsi, Azmana La Milsi, trying to bring a raya from the Ibul of a Sefer Torah. And point number three is, who inherits something if the king kills them? Married b'malchus versus married b'resin. Does it go to the Yarshim? Does it go to the king? Tav Mem Ches, Gemara Sanhedrin.